Any moment in the season, you can get tripped up, particularly in this league, Ryan Curley. Well, you and I have seen this a lot. Georgia going to struggle at Missouri, going and losing at Ole Miss. This is not an easy thing. Where does Georgia need to watch it the most in 2025?
Yeah, in terms of on the road, I would say Auburn. I think Tennessee is kind of the easy answer when you say that, but I'm not going to go with the easy answer. That's the first road game of the year. I'm going to go with the more difficult one. Look, crazy things happen in that stadium, probably more so than any other stadium in college football. And Georgia's going to go into that game significantly better than Auburn. And we've seen them do that and still struggle. You saw that happen in 2023. That is as hostile an environment as it gets, especially for what the stadium capacity is. I'd say on the road it's that. And then I guess I'll go with an easier answer at home. And I'd say Texas, right? They went into Texas and embarrassed them in Austin last year. And then they doubled down and they beat them in the SEC championship. If I'm Steve Sarkisian, if I'm Arch Manning, that rubs me the wrong way. I lost to you twice. I want to go and do it to you in Sanford Stadium. So my answers would be at home Texas and then on the road Auburn.
Yeah, I think Texas is definitely one to keep an eye on. We'll see, because that game is in Columbus, right, to kick off the season.
Yes.
Texas has. New quarterback, crazy environment. I think that'll be a real obvious test for them. If they can go up there and beat Ohio State on the road with Arch Manning, I guess they can do it in Athens. But, I mean, nobody's playing better at home than Georgia. I know they almost got tripped up by Georgia Tech, but no one's come into Athens and won since 2019, right? And that was a game that Georgia basically wrapped up and gave to South Carolina. So the atmosphere can be all-time. It can be elite, and Georgia's going to need an elite atmosphere when Texas comes to town. When Alabama comes to town, I'm expecting that atmosphere, that crowd to be electric and one of the best we've seen maybe since Notre Dame or one of those 2021 games. So I think the fans need to show out. Some of these games are going to be at night. That's going to make it more difficult for an Arch Manning or whoever wins that job at Alabama, or Austin Simmons, who I think is going to take over the job at Ole Miss. He's a new starter, talented, but I don't know if that kid could come into Athens and march the Rebels down the field over and over again, Dean. So, they have no problem going up to Neyland Stadium. We've seen that. It's a quiet 100,000 when Kirby Smart walks through there onto the field. But like Ryan said, Auburn can get tricky. There's just some voodoo up there. The War Eagle does a little something before the game's there. So that could get tricky. I don't know what their quarterback situation is. If it's the kid from Oklahoma, they've got some real problems. They've got to figure that out. But they're going to have to bring it. It's still the SEC. And if you don't play well, you could lose any of those games if you don't do the job on the field.
Well, I've got your attention. Check out the link down below from our good friends at BetMGM. Use the promo code MEGABET, MEGABET, to get a chance of up to $1,500 on bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. The link is right down below. You can bet on any number of things. Futures for the NFL, futures for college football. They got baseball betting, all sorts of things that you can have fun with. Let's be responsible about it. Don't miss out on this. It's a really cool thing. Again, from our buddies over at BetMGM, use the promo code MEGABET, MEGABET, get a chance for up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Check it out. Links right down below. Yeah, so I want to add this as well. This is a really difficult schedule for Georgia, no question. That Texas-Georgia game will almost certainly be at night. Now, not certainly, but almost certainly, because you got Alabama, Oklahoma earlier that day as well, and I would say sort of in an ancillary way, Florida and Ole Miss. But I don't see those two games going. The reason why I bring that up, that being at night, y'all, can you remember the last time Georgia lost at home at night? It's almost been 20 years. So it's been an extremely long period of time. But 17 years, whatever. So it's Georgia. I think the problem, Ryan, is that everything just adds up. I mean, like, you just don't know. I mean, I haven't even mentioned Florida. And, the toughest game they played in the regular season last year that they won, well, there were two of them. But Tech, they're going to play Tech. That'll be a home game in Atlanta for the Dogs. I don't anticipate Kentucky being a challenge for Georgia. But that's the problem, y'all, is you just never know, like, who's going to really bow up that week. And that's something that Georgia's got to worry about a lot, that Alabama always did and probably still does. everybody's taking their best shot at you, Ryan. It's not easy.
Yeah, I mean, like over and over the last few years, we didn't anticipate for some of these games to be hard. We didn't anticipate for Georgia Tech and Georgia to go to 8 overtimes, and that's what it was going to be to take to beat the Yellow Jackets that night. So it could be any one of them, but it's like the road games are always hard. I think it's interesting when you bring up Florida. That game was not easy last year.
No.
They had to claw that out, and the score at the end of the game doesn't really tell you the full story. I think it was 34-20. If I don't have that, if I have that right,
they won by 2 scores.
And those 2 scores were late,
Yep.
right? And it was just kind of piling on there at the end. But that was a very difficult first half. Maybe things are a little bit different if DJ Lagway doesn't get hurt. At least from a momentum standpoint, things would have been a little bit different because that's a deflator for Florida. And Carson Beck's pressing in that game. We don't know yet if Gunnar Stockton's going to have a game like that where he feels like he needs to do too much. We don't know enough yet about Gunnar Stockton in terms of quarterback because we've only seen him play probably 9 combined quarters between all of his experience. So that's the other part of it too. Will a team bring it? But Georgia could go out there just with the air out of the balloon in one of these games, and it could be against someone that's really good. It could be against someone it should beat.
Yeah, I agree with Dean about teams giving Georgia their best shot. Florida, the game they have circled on the calendar is Georgia. Yeah. Georgia Tech, the game they have circled is Georgia. Tennessee, they're not circling that Alabama game anymore. They haven't beat Georgia since 2016. They're circling that Georgia game. That's the game. They've got a Kirby Smart problem. They've got a Georgia problem, whatever you want to call it. They've got to get over that Georgia hump. That's the game they want to win. Kentucky gave Georgia everything they had last year. So did Georgia Tech. So did a lot of teams. They know it's the Georgia Bulldogs, and they try to give it everything they have. And we're going to see that next year, too. You don't think Alabama has that Georgia game scheduled going to Athens? They want to keep that, going. Kalen DeBoer doesn't want to lose to Georgia, right? So they know they're going to get everyone's best shot still, and that means that they're going to have to give it. And if they don't improve in the first half offensively, where every game is super tight and at the half again, yeah, there's going to be a lot of 4-quarter games this year, and these teams are still good. And they're not blowing teams out like they were in 21 and 22. So they have to play well for 4 straight quarters if they're going to either survive games like Kentucky or Georgia Tech or just win the big games, right? So like Ryan said, they've got to give it everything they have. They need to play well for 4 quarters, no matter if they're on the road or at home, because they're getting everyone's best shot.
This might, we're talking in 40,000-foot view, but I mean, this is going to come down to how well does Gunnar play, and can the explosion that we saw at G-Day be a normal occurrence? They gutted their way through. That was extremely workmanlike in 2024. It was not easy. They need fewer workmanlike games. They need some explosive games, get out, and go do what you're supposed to do and get the lead and kind of take it from there. I don't know how many times they didn't have the lead in games, but it was plenty. So even the Alabama game, they get down. That didn't happen against Texas, but like it felt like way too many times Georgia was in a far more competitive situation than they should have been. That will come down to, can they get easy points? But how is Gunnar going to play? Is he comfortable, Ryan? And I could not have anticipated that Carson played as not well as he did in 2024. But Gunnar, I can anticipate him struggling. If he struggles, Georgia could look at a 9-3 season. I don't know if I buy 8-4, but I think they could look at a 9-3. 9-3 would be even then would be tough. But Gunnar's got to play well. And again, look, this is not Dean is anti-Gunnar. That's not what's going on. I'm just saying, what's the deal? I mean, you got to play well.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, we really don't know how good this Georgia team is, right? We knew more about last year's Georgia team because we knew more about those players. There's more transition this year. There's more turnover. Georgia survived a couple of bad Carson Beck games, right? They survived a couple of bad Carson Beck's halves. And it's not just on Carson, right? It's the whole unit, but the defense was good enough to get them through. The players around were good enough to get them through. We can't as confidently say that about this team that at the end of the day, we truly just don't know as much about. I think the offense is better. I can't definitively say that about the defense, but I think the offense is better. if Gunnar goes out there and craps the bed, look, at Tennessee is going to be his toughest test so far. Going up there where almost every single fan in there is against you, and you didn't really grow up too far from them. They know a lot about you. And that's going to tell us so much about Gunnar Stockton.
You think? Let me hold on before you get rolling.
Yeah.
You think Gunnar at Tennessee is tougher than Gunnar versus Notre Dame in the playoff? I'm not saying you have to say,
Yeah, in terms of a one-day thing,
Okay.
Yes. I think that the month leading up to Notre Dame, I think that's a really stressful situation for Gunnar and all of that. But in terms of in one day and one game, even if Georgia is much better than Tennessee, which I'm kind of anticipating, that's just – you can't prepare for that. And that's why these redshirt quarterbacks and all, they go to all these away environments, and they're not the ones that are left behind on these road trips, right? That's why he's been to all these moments. But it's different when you're the one that's trying to listen to Mike Bobo in the headset and get a call out. Gunner's not a loud person, right? I mean, those moments are completely different.
Wrap us up, Matt.
Yeah, I think the environment would be tougher. I think Notre Dame's defense that he went against last year and Texas will be as good, if not better, than most of the defenses that he sees. Again, this is his fourth year, so this is not like a first or second year guy still learning the offense. He has full command. He knows what he's doing, and his job over the next few months are making sure the new offensive linemen and the new weapons, they also know exactly what they're doing. They've got to build some chemistry. I also think it's about time we see Georgia's full roster heading into game one, whether it's due to injuries or off-season related issues, whatever. If they have the entire team, then I think they should be good to go and bound for a pretty big season.
All right. We hope you're good to go for the 25 season. We're going to get you there. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video.